Today we are talking about 3 factors to consider when preparing for the delivery of your baby with a life-limiting or fatal diagnosis. We also have 4 specific tips on what you can do to help prepare for that time.
Hi everyone, this is Jeff and
Tony Brabeck
of Our Little Sparrows Pregnancy and Infant Loss Support. If you'd like to find out more about us and our organization, you can use the link in the description below. Welcome to episode number 16 of our new Grieve series, The Pregnancy Journey, a guide to grieving from diagnosis to the loss of your baby and beyond. Let's get started.
For the purpose of this video, we are speaking in the context that the baby will be born either by planned early induction or, if carrying to term, vaginally or C-section. Preparing for the delivery of your baby when you're anticipating your baby's life to be brief or possibly stillborn can be stressful, confusing, and of course, heartbreaking. After living through it, we wanted to share with you what was challenging and what helped us prepare for this time. There are 3 factors we want to highlight that can make preparing for delivery time challenging. Factor number 1, when the baby will be born. Unless it's a planned early induction, a lot of times babies with terminal conditions can come early. Your baby may come at 25 weeks or 30 or 40 weeks. You won't know until the baby tells you. Making family arrangements and selecting baby outfits can be a challenge.
Yeah, I know for us, Olivia came at 33 weeks. That was unplanned, of course. We found out about her situation early on, around 19 weeks, and we kept going every 2 weeks to get scans. And I think it was around week 27, it was definitive fairly definitive, that she had no kidneys and possibly not even a bladder. So, ironically, on that 33rd week, the day before she was born, I was on my way to work. I went to the light rail station, forgot my keys, and I turn around and go back home, and who's waiting on the driveway about ready to go to the hospital to get checked out. If I remember right, you were on the phone with the advice nurse because you had cramping the night before leading into that morning.
Yes, and so I actually didn't know that I was that would be the day that we would go into labor. I was actually thinking they're going to check me at the hospital and send me back home. But it turns out that I was actually dilating already, and so that our baby was going to be born basically that day or the next day. And so to prepare for that is really, it's really hard to prepare when there's so many unknowns. We didn't know if she was going to be alive or stillborn or what size she would be, just so many questions. And so to prepare for that and to make, I guess you're trying to make family arrangements if you have like childcare, to arrange for childcare or so forth. It's really hard to plan. You can't, basically. It's just knowing what you need to do, how ready, and just be flexible, I think is what we ended up doing. And
we were pretty much on our own. We didn't have any support telling us or leading us along the way, saying this was our experience, you can try this, you can try that. We were pretty much discovering everything for the first time on our own. So factor number 2, will the baby be born alive or still? You alluded to that. So in the cases like ours, we didn't know if our daughter would die before birth or shortly thereafter. There was even a possibility she wouldn't survive the delivery at all.
Yes, that was really hard to know what to do at that time.
Right,
so
and no family is going to know unless you've actually received a scan and the heartbeat has stopped. Everyone else is in the other bucket, just the wait and see on the day of the birth.
And actually, when we got to the hospital, they did an ultrasound and they put the monitors on us, and so she was alive. And we decided, after talking with our doctors and nurses, that we would take the monitors off. Take the monitors off.
It's just too stressful.
Yeah, and so we actually didn't know at the time, basically when I was ready to deliver, if she would be alive or not at that point. And then right before I delivered, they did check for the heartbeat, and she was still alive. The third factor, not knowing the physical condition of the baby. Even with amazing high and modern technology, ultrasounds don't always show everything we need to know, good or bad, external and internal. Externally, an example of our personal story. Our physicians prepared us that there may be physical anomalies, but we didn't know what and how exactly that would look. Her foot and toe were the only exterior abnormalities, and it was a result of having no amniotic fluid.
Mm-hmm.
She had little room to grow and move around. There are some conditions that have significant birth defects. I wish there was a better term for that. Some can be really difficult to see. But nurses can help wrap your baby snug in their blanket to help cover those areas if needed and desired.
Mm-hmm. I think they did a really good job with that. In fact, I didn't even realize that her leg and foot were even contorted, I guess would be a respectable word for that. I didn't know she had any abnormalities at all. It was only until, hours into having her that the swaddle, the way they wrapped her up in the blanket, it started coming unraveled a little bit, and I didn't even really know. So
internally, until your baby is born and can be examined by your medical team, you won't really know what your baby is dealing with for certain and if there are any possible treatment options or not. Maybe there will be options, maybe not. With all of these unknown factors, how do you best prepare for this? We have 4 specific tips to help you during this critical time. Truth, there really isn't one formula that will fit every need for every baby. The key is to know all of your available options as best as you can and plan for flexibility.
So tip number 1 would be support people. In fact, we talked about support people. We talked about your community in I believe it was a podcast. It was actually part of our weekly podcast series. So we'll put a link in the cards above to that episode, specifically talking about creating a support team or a support person for your pregnancy. So specifically with these support people, our thoughts are to have your support person on standby. Decide who you want to be in the delivery room and who can arrive later to meet the baby. So depending on when the baby is born, some may be able to be there in time and others may not. Overall, it's kind of a mental game, right? And so we're just suggesting to be mentally prepared through the process. And then, it's less of a surprise.
Right.
So when it comes to the support person, that can be the father of the baby. It could be a partner, a family member, or a doula. So the best thing that you can do, and this is regardless of current situations in our society. Right now we're dealing with COVID-19, so there's really a heightened sensitivity to this. We recommend contacting the hospital ahead of time or speaking to your OB if your OB works directly with that hospital. There's different ways to find out what the protocols are at the facility, their website as well. Yeah. Sometimes you can have one person, sometimes you can't have any.
Yeah. Tip number 2, have your go bag ready early. And by go bag, I mean your personal items, the items that you need to have with you at the hospital, basically your overnight bag, your hygiene items, your change of clothes. We will have a resource list available for you to check out in the description below, so you can use that as a suggestion or a reference to what you need to pack. And tip number 3, special items to pack for the baby. Pack some additional items for your baby. Some items can be having special outfits, and for me, we picked 2 outfits in different sizes. We picked in a preemie size as well as a newborn size. Some babies may still be too small for preemie sizes, but there are ways to wrap your baby so that it will stay in place, or use a small blanket. For our daughter, she was actually still too small for preemie. She was only 3 pounds, and I think through the fog of it all, I actually didn't think to put on or try on her outfits. So we just used a blanket that the hospital provided. Was a really nice crocheted blanket, and we just used that along with some of the other hospital blankets that they had, and just kept her wrapped in that. And it was still actually very nice. But we brought couple different outfits and ended up not using them, but it was good to have anyways, just in case I did want to try it, then at least I would have them there. And but in this case, we didn't end up using them. So you can bring special blankets. Some bring 2 identical, one to leave with your baby and the other one to bring home with you. You can bring a special toy or keepsake to leave with your baby, maybe a family photo, poem, or scripture. We'll have another resource list available in the description below with suggested items to pack for your baby.
Yeah. So tip number 4 is seeing and holding your baby. Discuss this with your partner or the support person that you've chosen. For some, this answer may be obvious, but we know that it can be a hard one to talk about and to do. So we encourage families to see and hold their baby, of course, and to spend as much time with their baby as possible, even if they've already died. And every hospital is going to have different, protocols for this. So obviously that is probably something you'd want to ask ahead of time as well. So we also understand that some may have a very hard time with this regardless. I guess the other question to ask yourself is, how would I feel if I didn't hold my baby or if I didn't see my baby? And this would be, how you feel today, how you might feel tomorrow, and for the rest of your life. It's a big question, 2 big questions. Yeah. Do you even want to see the baby? And if you are going to see it, would you also want to hold it? So you really have to ask yourself if you're going to be okay with that. So talk with your medical team about comfort care as well, and life-saving intervention if your baby is born alive. There's the possibility that there's something that they could do. So if you want them to intervene or provide the comfort care until the baby dies, that's something that you want to consider. For more information on birth plans, we actually have a specific episode to this, and we'll put a link in the cards above.
It seems so unfair when you should be planning for the delivery of your baby to bring home, but instead, you have to plan for your baby's death. It's brutal and it's hard, but we hope this video will make navigating this very unwanted and difficult road a little easier. Know you are not alone. You are loved, and your baby will always be cherished. We are here to support you in any way we can.
If you got value out of this episode, please subscribe to our channel and ring that bell and give us a thumbs up so that you can get alerts when we release new content every week. If you liked what you saw in this video, you can click on the next video in our grief series by clicking or tapping above. If you would like to catch our weekly podcast, you can click or tap on the video below.